Okay, this video is just going to be more information that I've discovered about the Paris thing and whatever. I mentioned how it all ties into Lupercalia, literally, it ties into the Abraham Lincoln, the Civil War type theme that they've been running in the media. Also, Pope Francis and his visit to the United States on 9/23. And he went to the 9/22, his 923rd day as Pope, going to the White House at 9/23 on 9/23. Um, and it all ties into Philadelphia and also like Skull and Bones and the Synagogue of Satan. Anyway, one of the first things I want to talk about is just all these people that literally change their Facebook profile to be the flag. I mean, it's just ridiculous. Like, it just goes to show you how much people follow and they have no idea what's really going on. I mean, nobody cared about France anyway before this happened. Like, I just don't get it. Why didn't they just put a picture of them with eating French fries? Because that is the only time they ever cared about France. Anyway, I looked up the flag of France just for that reason, and the thing that I noticed was look when it was adopted. February 15th, 1794. Go figure, the last day of the festival of Lupercalia. Now, I've mentioned multiple times in previous videos that 2013, 14, and 15, I think they really brought out the Lupercalia reference because Lupercalia is a festival where they sacrifice the wolf and then they celebrate the wolf, and it's like a fertility festival, whatever. An old ancient one. It goes clear back to Julius Caesar, maybe before. They don't know for sure, but they know that in the Shakespeare play Julius Caesar, uh, the play began during Lupercalia. Anyway, so if you take out these zeros, it's literally just like the dates that Lupercalia is, February 13th through the 15th. Funny also that it was 221 years ago. 221, February 21st, is the 52nd day of the year. I've mentioned a lot of this before, but the 52nd prime is 239. It's the 239th day, or 239th year of the United States. 239 as a date can also be 923, which Pope Francis came to the United States on his 923rd day. Went to the White House 923. Like I've mentioned it so many times. But in regards to Lupercalia, I talked about how during the NBA All-Star Week last year, you had the Teen Wolf, uh, Andrew Wiggins, who won the Rising Star Challenge MVP. And then the next night on Valentine's Day, you had the Teen Wolf, Zach LaVine, who won the NBA Slam Dunk Contest, doing the Michael Jordan Space Jam dunk. And Michael Jordan is 52 years old this year. He owns the Charlotte Hornets. Princess Charlotte was born on 5/2 this year. It's also the 122nd day of the year. Literally 221 backwards. Lots of other things have lots of previous videos on it. Interesting, though, that France is the reason that they helped us gain our independence, supposedly, whatever. And that, they have the same colored flag as we do. Let's see here. The Gematria of red, white, blue adds up to 60. Now, this number has been coded like crazy for at least 3 months that I've noticed. You had the Timberwolves coach who died, Flip Saunders, who died at the age of 60. He became the Timberwolves coach on the 21st game of Kevin Garnett's rookie season. Kevin Garnett was number 21. He played for 12 seasons and before he went to Boston. This year is his 21st season. But Kevin Garnett was a Teen Wolf. He was the very first Teen Wolf of all time. And then they really bragged up the Teen Wolves again during the NBA All-Star Week this year. Interesting, though, he came out of high school directly to the NBA. The first player ever to go out of high school to the ABA was Moses Malone, who died this year at the age of 60. And the first person to go out of high school into the NBA was Daryl Dawkins. And Daryl Dawkins adds up to 60 as well. And they were both Philadelphia 76ers. Lots of stuff coded to Philadelphia. I mean, think about it, even Kobe Bryant was a teen NBA player. He came from Philadelphia. He got drafted to Charlotte originally, then got traded to the Lakers. So, I mean, whatever. Another Charlotte reference, Kobe Bryant is like the mirror of Michael Jordan, or they tried to make him that way. Also, Pope Francis, that was the last place he went when he came to the United States, was Philadelphia. Uh, Philadelphia is in the book of Revelation, the final book of the Bible. It has 404 verses in it. The King James Bible came out in 1611, 404 years ago. Pope Francis arrived in the United States at 4:04 p.m. But I've talked about how they've coded it to the Nebraska Cornhuskers. Lincoln, Nebraska is also 60. Abraham Lincoln is 60. And in the movie Teen Wolf, they have Nebraska Cornhusker stuff in the background. Has nothing to do with Nebraska at all. Also, he joins the school play that is about the Civil War. Also, in the book of Revelation, they mention the synagogue of Satan and the false Jews or whatever, which is in San Francisco, or that's where the synagogue of Satan, the Church of Satan is from. San Francisco adds up to 122, just like Pope Francis. They're both named after the same guy, St. Francis of Assisi, who just so happened to die at the age of 44. Also, in my previous videos, one of the things I forgot to mention that Friday the 13th adds up to 106, 10-6, like October 6th. If you convert it Gregorian to Julian, it's the same as 923, the same as the day that Pope Francis went to the White House. Obama winks in the movie I Pet Goat 2 at 106, and then he's scared or whatever, and then the building falls. There's lots and lots of coding to this. 106 has just been in tons of stuff this year. Queen Elizabeth's husband, who is 1,776 days older than her, was even born on 6/10. That's how they would write the date. It's June 10th. That's how they write the date in England. Flag of France even adds up to 58. 58, another number we've seen a ton of times this year. All of the theater shootings, James Egan Holmes adds up to 58. And remember, he was sentenced just weeks after you had the train wreck shooting. Train wreck also just so happens to add up to 122. The Philadelphia train wreck this year was going 106 miles an hour. It had the 601 on it. It happened at 9:23 p.m. LeBron James is known as King James. He's in the movie Trainwreck. You had the Nicholas Winton guy who saved the Jews on the train. He died at 106 years old this year. You had the story about Jared from Subway molesting kids. The Back to the Future stuff. Back to the Future from 2015. The time machine gets destroyed by a train. Then the final time machine is made out of a train. Lots and lots of train references. And then today there was a train wreck in France. And imagine that, the train wrecks off of a bridge. Come on. We've talked about the bridge collapse and all this other whatever, They've just been coding bridge a lot. I've talked about the Benjamin Franklin Bridge, the Golden Gate Bridge. My last video was even about how they demolished the Pier 3 or whatever it was. Or I'm not sure of what number it was, but it was the largest pier on the old San Francisco-Oakland Bay Bridge. It says even there was 49 people on this train. I talked about the number 49 in my previous Paris videos. Also, how interesting is it that there was another France train, whatever, the terrorist attack, and the Marines tackled them, and then the one Marine gets stabbed in October, and right before that was the Roseburg, Oregon shooting, and the one guy was even from Roseburg, Oregon. Come on now. The Paris attacks yesterday even started at 9:16 p.m. 9:16 as a date is September 16th, where there's 106 days remaining. Anyway, I talked about the Synagogue of Satan and how it adds up to 223. I even mentioned how Flip Saunders was born on 223, just like the Teen Wolf Andrew Wiggins, who won the NBA Rising Star MVP last year. He was born on 223. Flip Saunders announced his cancer on 223. Tons of other stuff, made a whole video on that, or a bunch of videos, but Friday the 13th was yesterday. That adds up to 223. Also, the first day of Lupercalia, February 13th, 223. When you think of France, you think of Napoleon. That's Napoleon's real name, his birth name. That adds up to 223. I mean, what are the odds of that? Also, with regards to that, I had talked about Skull and Bones a ton in the last video. Skull and Bones adds up to 41. That train crash that happened today, what said it was near Strasbourg or whatever. Strasbourg, 41. Skull and Bones ties into the Synagogue of Satan. You know, I forgot to mention too up here on the theater shootings that the 58, there was the train wreck theater shooting even that happened on July 23rd, which if you convert that to the Gregorian calendar, it's 8/5. And originally they said the guy was 58 years old, and they changed it to 59 years old for whatever the reason. His name added up to 239 even. And then there was also another theater shooting on 8/5, August 5th. And on that one, they said that he had an airsoft gun. This doesn't do the S exception. Airsoft gun with the S exception is actually 58. And also, I believe the train wreck shooting was at the Grand Theater, and that adds up to 58. Even the Roanoke, Virginia stuff, they even put on the TV and said Bridgewater, but it looked like it said Franklin Bridge or whatever. And that's in whatever Philadelphia, but Bridgewater 58 and Allison Parker 58. And that's not even her real name, which is even more ridiculous. Tons of other stuff I even mentioned about the earthquakes that were going on, and I can't even remember it all. You just have to go back and watch my videos. I should look it up, but whatever. I wanted to point out the Ronda Rousey fight tonight. Ronda Rousey lost, and I should have bet all my money on this. But literally anybody in the world who knows me knows I don't give a crap about money. I mean, I have 3 college degrees. I make $11 an hour. Whoop-de-doo, you know? It's just a fake, stupid system anyway. But, interesting, Ronda Rousey adds up to 56. And, you know, well, there's destruction or whatever with this number, so Ronda Rousey adds up to the same as Paris, France. Also, ISIS adds up to 56. I've mentioned the Teen Wolf, Kevin Garnett, whatever, 56. Wolf is 56. Just whatever for Adolf Hitler adds up to 56. He even died at the age of 56. In the month of April, April is the only month that adds up to 56. Abraham Lincoln died at the age of 56. In the year 65, he also died in April. Also, they had the stuff going around about how the Missouri people were mad because of the Paris attacks and saying it was diverting attention away from them. Whatever. You know, I just found that kind of weird because it's all about Abraham Lincoln and the domestic violence, Civil War type theme that they've been running. Also, Ronda Rousey lost tonight then. Remember, she lost 59 seconds in the second round. Interesting, a death number, but her last fight she won in 34 seconds. I made a video on it. It was on 8/1, and I talked about how it's the 213th day. It all ties into Lupercalia. It ties back to the death of Roddy Piper even. And wouldn't you know, Roddy Piper adds up to 215 like the last day of Lupercalia. Also 98, just like Lupercalia. Just pointed out here, Lupercalia 98. Tom Brady, like I said, he even became a starter in 1998. Jim Harbaugh 98. Michigan Wolverines 98. It's all about the Wolf. Michigan even won today. Maybe I'll talk about that if I have like a little bit of time. But Ronda Rousey won the last fight with 34 seconds left. 34 is all about the Civil War. 34 adds up to 61. 61, 1861 is when the Civil War began. Obama was born in 61. Tons of other stuff. I'll actually just leave a note and I'll explain a bunch of stuff about the number 34 dealing with Abraham Lincoln. I do want to talk about this Michigan game, so interesting. Michigan's ranked number 14. I've talked about these numbers over and over, skull and bones, whatever. But 14, and then they went to the second overtime. The score was 41-41, and Michigan prevailed. Number 14 prevailed. Funny, this game was even played at Memorial Stadium, just like Nebraska. Memorial adds up to 41, just like Skull and Bones, Husker fans, black shirts, red in. I mean, there's tons more. Also, just as I had thought, 4 teams higher than Michigan lost today. So I guess we'll see what happens, but celebrating that wolf, I think. Have a good night.